How's it going, everybody? Welcome to HawgSports Live. I'm your host, Trey Biddy. Today on the show, we're going to talk about Razorback basketball a good bit. Arkansas has been struggling a bit here lately. Danny West is going to join us to talk some recruiting, and we're also going to have Keith Grayson at the end of the show to shoot a little bull. All that and more on HawgSports Live. Well, another disappointing loss on the road. You know, I always say with road games, and Arkansas losing 77-70 to Mississippi State last night, I always say with road games, you got to give yourself an opportunity to get in the game at the end and have a chance to win. And if you end up 50-50 in SEC road games, that's pretty good. You take care of business at home, you end up 50-50, that's pretty good. But Arkansas, just down the stretch, they just didn't have a lot of answers in this one. First of all, the free throw shooting discrepancy. Arkansas was 6 of 11, including 0 of 1 in the first half. 0 of 1. So not only did they not get to the line a lot, Mississippi State was 27 of 31, by the way, 87.1%, and Reggie Perry was 14 of 15. Not only did they not get to the line a lot, they didn't knock them down when they got there. You got to hit the front end of 1-and-1s. They were only 6 of 11, 54.5%. That's just not going to get it done on the road for a team that's just, kind of outmanned, especially from a size standpoint. That's not going to get it done. 4 of 20 from three-point range. It's 20%. That's not going to get it done on the road either. They did a lot of the things that they needed to do. They didn't just get dominated on the boards, although it kind of felt like it at times. They didn't get totally dominated. They didn't get to the free throw line. And that's, people can say it's the referees, it's the home court, home cooking and stuff. And, I think there's definitely a component to that. You go into games knowing that, though. You go in, you're knowing you're not going to get the whistles. But also, this is a result of Arkansas, not having the height in a lot of ways. I do think that Perry got some ticky-tacky fouls his way, but ultimately, when you're such a small team, you're not going to get a lot of rebounds, and I guess you're not going to get a lot of calls. What was Arkansas's points in the paint? 46 points in the paint, though. They were taking it to the basket. 46-24. So it's disappointing for a couple of reasons. Obviously, it's your second loss in a row. I think probably a little bit of a hangover from that Kentucky game. Isaiah Joe was just 1 of 8 from three-point range and 2 of 13. Really had a bad night. This is one of Joe's worst games in his career at Arkansas. He'll bounce back, but he is like 4 of 20, I think, in his last 2 games from three-point range. That's tough. If you don't have Joe going and he's shooting that many threes and he's going 4 of 20 in 2 games, that's going to be rough for you. I can understand getting him taken away, and open things up for other players. But if he's shooting 20 shots and only makes 4 of them, that's a problem. Did not have his best game. He'll bounce back, but, a lot of this is just, you don't have much of an inside presence. You just don't. So, Arkansas returns home against TCU. TCU's not playing bad. Big 12 SEC Challenge. That's on Saturday at 3 o'clock, sold out again. Should be a great environment. Step out of conference, return home, regroup, get some things figured out. There's nothing you can do about a lack of height, but that's where Arkansas is. They're a scrappy bunch. They got to do better than, winning the turnover battle 7-9, shooting 54% from the foul line and only getting there 11 times, and 4 of 20 from three-point range. You just got to do better than that if you're going to win. Musselman, what I'm learning about Eric Musselman is he does not take losing well. You can tell in his post-game press conferences, it shakes him. It shakes him. I like Eric a lot. I think that he's going to take Arkansas to the next level, and I think the fans feel that. I think there's real momentum behind this basketball program. You got some really good players coming in next year, and some players on this team that maybe need to think twice about going pro just based on what we've seen here lately. Speaking about Isaiah Joe, I think he can develop his game more. Of course, just because you're not completely developed, the NBA will draft you on potential, obviously. But I do think that Arkansas, you get Jones back and Joe back. You can really start to build something with this program when you talk about the sit ones that are coming in and things like that. Plenty of ways to watch and listen, everybody. I want to thank everybody for making this show so popular. You can watch on Facebook Live. If you haven't thrown us a thumbs up, go ahead and do so now. Same deal on YouTube. Throw us a like if you haven't done so. Follow the page on Facebook and subscribe to the channel on YouTube and hit the notification bell. It's available anywhere you get your favorite podcast. Anywhere you get podcasts, you can find HawgSports Live right now. So if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, please throw us a 5-star review. Say something nice about us. And by the way, I want to say this because there was a negative review on Apple Podcast, and it was about the walk and talk. And I never really thought about this, but he was complaining that there's traffic noise, there's too much outside noise, and this is not on the video, but on the podcast version where you're just listening. And I was thinking about that. The walk and talk is more of a visual type of thing. You get to see the background, maybe some access to some areas that you don't normally get to see. Should I stop uploading that on the podcast? I like my 5-star rating on there, so I don't want to get negative reviews because people don't like the crowd noise. But let me know in the comments what you think on that, if you think I should stop uploading the walk and talk version. But the walk and talk is like the most popular thing I do, I think. Anyway, it surprised me to see that he said, he would give it 5 stars if it wasn't for the walk and talk. So I don't know. We're going to answer some of your questions today too, so be sure to get your questions in here in a little bit. Not just yet because they'll roll off the page and I have no way to recover them. So I'll let you know maybe when to start chiming in with some questions. So basketball team losing 2 in a row playing TCU on Saturday, 3 o'clock. We'll get into the recruiting stuff here in just a second. I want to go ahead and bring in Danny West. I told him I'd get to him pretty early. Danny handles most of our recruiting stuff, and this is his busy time right now. So does a great job. I know a lot of people probably listen to this for Danny and his recruiting insight. Paging Danny West.
Trey Biddy.
How's it going, Danny?
It's going. How are y'all?
We're doing good, man. We're doing good. I was just talking to everybody a little bit about basketball, and it's been, obviously a little bit of a disappointing showing. Hey, Danny, first before we jump into recruiting, I know your wife is a big Kansas Jayhawks fan from that area. What you think about that brawl? That was crazy.
She said, "Don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff." You're trying to run out the clock, man. You're trying to take the high road. They want to get cute. You go down and swat them. Now, listen, seriously, I don't think De Sousa should have stood over him like that. That's really what started it, right? But hey, they were asking for trouble.
Yeah, they were asking for it.
They were asking for it.
Yeah. Well, that certainly drew a lot of headlines. I got to say this, Jeff Long right now. I mean, since he's been there, I know the NCAA investigation stuff isn't on him, but it came about under his watch. With the announcement of the investigation. You had the stripper poles incident at the beginning of the season, and now this fight. It just seems like there's just a lot of things popping up around KU basketball right now that is historically a very obviously well-regarded program with is viewed as generally a high-class program overall.
12-game suspension for that.
I may have gone too far on that last part. Do what?
12-game suspension.
Yeah. What is that?
That's a rough one.
Is that conference? Is that the rest of conference?
I would say that's through the rest of the regular season, I think.
Oh, so he gets to play back. He gets to come back when it's when a conference tournament and NCAA tournament starts. Okay. Yeah, that'll show them.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I hear you. It's like when football coaches are like, we're going to suspend you. We're going to pick a game in the season to suspend you, though. Like if you got a tough game early on. So, Danny, we'll jump into recruiting here. People don't want to hear your expertise on basketball. Sorry.
That's good.
They want to hear the recruiting stuff. Arkansas got a lot of commitment. I was looking at it, man. Danny, they're at 17 commitments already. Suddenly, it's 17 commitments.
Yeah, and we're kind of waiting to see what Ebony Jackson is going to do.
Yeah.
The running back out of Georgia. He tweeted out earlier in the week. He just tweeted today's date. I think that would imply that a decision may be coming soon. So, and if so, he's committed to Maryland, but I would still like Arkansas's chances coming off of that visit. You think about Maryland already having 2 running backs in their class. That adds up.
Yeah, so they got a couple of commitment or a few commitments over the weekend, I guess, and then we haven't really talked about Felipe Franks, but Felipe, I don't know if I told you the story. I think I did, Danny, but my wife and her friends were at the Graduate this weekend, which is the hotel in Fayetteville. It used to be the Chancellor, but they were at the Graduate this weekend, and they just started talking with this fella. And he was kind of like, "Is everybody in Arkansas talk as country as y'all?" But it ended up being Don Franks, who's Felipe's dad, and he was waiting for Felipe, and they talked to Felipe for a while. Anyway, they ended up hanging out and just kind of chatting with him. None of them follow recruiting, and one of them's an Ole Miss fan. But I thought that was pretty funny, especially in Pete's article when he talked about how genuine and nice the people in Arkansas were, and they circled that quote and sent it to me to make sure I knew how genuine and nice they were.
Awesome.
But anyway, they hung out with Don Franks and Felipe a little bit too, but I think they kind of got a good idea that he was headed to Arkansas. I doubt they knew that they were friends with somebody who covers Razorback sports.
Yeah, probably not. They probably would have walked away on that one.
Yeah, might have. But he's a nice addition, and I think it's interesting with people's takes on Felipe. Like, he wasn't that great at Florida. He was a starter at Florida, and they did have success under him, and they were having a lot of success his senior year before he dislocated his ankle. And I haven't even checked on the recovery time for that dislocated ankle, if he'll be ready for the spring. I would assume he would be, but people talk about like, he's not that good, we don't need him, or something like that. He's pretty good, first of all. He's not like a Heisman Trophy winner that lost his starting job, obviously, but he's an upgrade for Arkansas in the quarterback room. Arkansas, we're acting like Arkansas wasn't a 2-win team last year. They've upgraded, and that's all you can ask for, is to get better than you were before, and they just upgraded the quarterback room.
Yeah, I agree with you. And what I've told people all week is, well, what else were you going to go out and find at this point, right? I mean, Jamie Newman's not coming here. He's going to Georgia. The King kid, I'm not sure he was really a priority on this end. Yeah. He goes to Miami. I mean, what else are you supposed to do? And you absolutely have to do something. You got to find somebody. So probably the best player available. And, I'm with you. I don't know that he's going to come in and be top 3 or 4 quarterback in this conference, but at the same time, even if he's the 8th best, that's a drastic improvement from where you've been over the last few years here. So you'll take it.
I'll tell you another thing that you hear, Danny, is that haven't we learned our this is another one I saw from somebody. Haven't we learned our lesson? Did Ebony Jackson just committed.
You got me.
Yeah, it came across my notification. So Arkansas just got a commitment from Ebony Jackson. Danny, real quick, I'll let you go so you can get on this. I know you have to, but I should probably just let you go, to be honest with you. If you want to come back maybe at the end of the show, would that be good?
Just hit publish on the story. Go check out the Ebony Jackson commitment. We can talk about it real quick.
Okay, go for it.
This is a guy that has dealt with some injuries. He had a really severe season-ending type injury to his knee last year. So, maybe it'll work out for Arkansas, and they've really got something here. But interesting to me that they would take 2 running backs. You've got a veteran room there, so we'll see what he's about. He did tell me he's fully recovered from that injury, so nice addition there.
Nice addition. All right, Danny, appreciate you. We might holler at you in a minute if we got some more questions. Okay, later. All right, that's Danny West. Sorry we had to drop Danny early, but duty calls, and he's got to get that blasted out for everybody to see. So a little breaking news on HawgSports Live. I don't know, it's been a while since we've had breaking news like that, but Ebony Jackson, he's a good-looking running back. He blew out his knee. He had a bad knee injury, and I think a lot of teams dropped off of him, but he had a really big-time offer list. This is a guy that ran a 10.5 in the 100-meter dash. So they needed running backs, and that's another one right there. So they've got 2 running backs in the class. Dominique Johnson may end up playing. Is it Johnson or Jackson? I think it's Jackson. He may end up playing a different position. He could play linebacker. I mean, I'm not saying he will, but he could end up playing linebacker if they needed him to. So, but Ebony Jackson committed to Arkansas. So Arkansas's got a big visit weekend coming up this weekend as well. Friday, January 24th. Dominique Johnson Dominic Johnson, not Jackson. The other running back who's committed to Arkansas, signed with Arkansas already, be coming in and bringing his family, I guess, for his first official visit to Arkansas. Art Green out of Hutchinson Community College, a 4-star cornerback. Malik Hornsby. Now, Arkansas needs to get a prep quarterback in this class also. They've got to get a prep quarterback in addition to getting Felipe Franks. That'll put them at 5 quarterbacks right now. So that's a good number that you want to be at. Right now, that's another thing with Felipe. 3 quarterbacks is not enough. And especially, I don't know that Jack Lindsey or John Stephen Jones is the guy that you are going to rely on to lead you to a bowl game this year, But Felipe Franks, maybe we're talking. KJ Jefferson, maybe we're talking. KJ's got some, he's got some improvement to do. I think he made a lot of improvement, but like we saw some things like field awareness and, he reworked his throwing mechanics, and every once in a while one will just sail on him. So more repetition with that should make him a better player. But Malik Hornsby, obviously a 4-star prospect, the number 225 overall prospect in the entire country. Looked like Baylor and Arkansas. And Baylor's still in it. He's still going to visit Baylor on January 31st after he visits Arkansas. But, you got to think that losing Matt Rule, would play some type of impact with that. He's a guy that would really seem to fit into Kendall Browse's system. Dual threat quarterback. Nice and fast. What's his 40 time? He's got a 4.7 laser time in the 40, which is moving pretty good when you consider it's a laser time for a quarterback. Also, they're going to have C.J. Dixon in. So you would think that one of those two guys, C.J. Dixon or Malik Hornsby. Dixon's 6'5", 210 out of Loganville, Georgia, Grayson High School. He's got some options too. This is his first official visit, though, January 24th. So that's another one to keep an eye on. You would think that they were going to bring in one of those guys for sure. You also got Brandon Frazier. Danny and I both, I think, have Brandon Frazier crystal balled to Auburn, but you never know. I mean, he was committed here for a long time. Obviously, the head coach isn't here anymore that recruited him in. His position coach, and Barry Lundy Jr., isn't here. That's why you'd think maybe Auburn has a better shot, but, Arkansas is a lot closer to McKinney, Texas than Auburn is. This weekend, so we mentioned Dominic Johnson, we mentioned Art Green, we mentioned Malik Hornsby, Robert Scott out of Conway, Arkansas. Committed to Ole Miss. He's got a lot of crystal ball predictions heading him to Florida State. J.T. Towers out of Joe T. Robinson in Little Rock. A guy with a lot of potential, had 171 tackles, 6'4", 210-pound linebacker. Javon Baker, wide receiver, who's committed to Alabama, 4-star prospect out of Powder Springs, Georgia. They're getting a lot of Georgia kids in here. C.J. Dixon, who I just mentioned, the quarterback, and then Brandon Frazier. And that rounds out the list of visitors this weekend. And then they'll have one more visit weekend. Right now they have 4 players scheduled to come in that last weekend. And probably add a few more here and there. But they're at 17. I don't think this is a group that you would consider are going to I don't think this is a group that you would say like they're going to fill up this class with 25. They'd actually have to have some more attrition in the terms of the players that are on scholarship right now to fill up a full 25, and that'll happen definitely after the spring. They'll lose some more players after that when some players feel like they don't fit in or they're not jiving. It just happens with every coaching staff, so that's just part of it. All right, everybody, you can go ahead and start getting your questions in. We'll jump into those a little bit earlier since Danny had to leave us early. Alan Hurst says podcast is fine. Daryl Henry says no, continue to do the walk and talk. I'll continue to do the walk and talk, but I was just asking, does it play poorly on podcast if you're just listening? Jared Eubanks says keep uploading. Walk and talk is great, says Alan Hurst. All right, appreciate you. Looks like we've got a consensus pretty much. It could have just been an outlier, but I like to try to please people. I like to try to find out the kind of stuff that people want, the content people want. I'm not saying like I would like placate things to what people want, but I think people like the way we structure this. I do like a rough outline of every show, but I never rehearse what we're going to say on here. I just kind of try to keep it off the cuff. So what do I think about Franks coming in? I think I answered that pretty good, Bobby Buxton. I think it's an upgrade. They've upgraded the room. Is he going to win the Heisman at Arkansas? Probably not. But is he going to be an upgrade at quarterback and also provide competition? That's another thing I've heard some fans say. They think that it could cause division in the locker room between KJ Jefferson and Franks. Every every notable program has quality quarterbacks, has guys pushing them. Everybody does. And so KJ hasn't won a starting job yet. He's not the starting quarterback at Arkansas, so it's not like he was the starter and this guy's going to come in and take his position and everybody's going to be in an uproar over it. I don't think it's anything like that. Does Muss have a history of playing only 7 players? He did some at Nevada, from what I understand. Now, Virginia did that also. Somebody brought that up on the Razor's Edge Premium Forum. And again, guys, if you haven't signed up for HawgSports.com, it's a great time to sign up. You can sign up today for $1. We're changing the deal. We're going to offer a different kind of deal tomorrow. We're going to offer a different kind of deal, a special tomorrow. So if you want to sign up for the $1 offer, today's the day to sign up for $1 at HawgSports.com. Follow all this big recruiting stuff. Spring football just around the corner. Danny had a list of 10 offers that just went out to 21 and 22 prospects also. So all that kind of stuff you can follow at HawgSports.com right now for just $1. It's a heck of a deal. Just $1. And then tomorrow we're changing the deal. It's going to be an offer for people who want to sign up for an annual subscription. I'll just hint you that it's a large percentage off. Let's see. Alan Hurst says, will we get Broderick Jones? I would say to that, don't get your hopes up. Treat it as a surprise if you do get him. Kind of like Texas A&M must have viewed the commitment of Jackson Robinson, number 34 overall prospect in the country, shooting guard who was coming to Arkansas time after time, paying his own way. Everything pointed to Arkansas, and then it just turned. He committed to Texas A&M. So I would say Texas A&M, they viewed that as a big surprise, out of nowhere kind of deal. So I would say view that with Broderick Jones if he commits to Arkansas. For those who don't know, Broderick Jones out of Lithonia, Georgia, big 6'5", 298-pound offensive tackle who is a 5-star prospect, the number 19 overall recruit in the country, who committed to Georgia and Sam Pittman when he was there, visiting Illinois this weekend. And then Auburn, I think, is his last visit. Already visited Georgia. So it's a long shot. To get a kid all the way from Georgia that's that highly recruited, who's already committed to Georgia, I think is a tough deal. Now, I want to say this also. Danny's got a breakdown coming out of the recruiting territories for Arkansas. It's different. It's different than what Chad Morris did. A little more outstretched. But if you want to look at all that stuff, it's at HawgSports.com coming out here shortly. Also, we just released the Big Red Board, which has breakdown of Arkansas's recruits and where Danny thinks Arkansas stands with them. Jared Ubeck says, when do we start spring ball? I would imagine in the middle of March. So I would say the middle of March. Pittman told me that he wants to start as late as possible. So middle of March is what you're probably looking at, which is in stark contrast to what Chad Morris did. Chad Morris started before everybody. I mean, we'd be late February starting spring ball under Morris. So I would think probably the 16th-ish, something like that. Larry Vineyard says 2-win team with the worst coach in history. Yes. Chad Morris was the worst coach Arkansas has had in 126 years. I answered that. What star rating is Ebony Jackson? Ebony is an 88 overall on the composite. So he's the number 443 ranked player in the country and is a 3-star. So he is a high-end 3-star recruit. Was committed to Maryland, now committed to Arkansas. Also had early offers from Tennessee, Alabama, Ole Miss, several others. I think this is just this case of a guy that blew out his knee. And that happens. When you're not committed to anybody, you're not committed to a school and you blow your knee out, then a lot of times teams will back off. Doesn't mean he can't come back and be a good running back. And maybe the kind of guy that Arkansas, is just kind of has to target in a situation like this. Joe Coe says, what does the O-line look like? The O-line looks small still. I mean, we were talking about this on Drive Time the other day, but, I mean, you figure Myron Cunningham, who goes about 275 pounds, a lighter offensive lineman. They're in the middle of an 8-week training cycle right now, so you'd obviously like to get some more weight on him. Pittman's not going to be okay with an offensive line that averages under 300 pounds like they did last year. He's just not. So you've got You're going to have him probably at one tackle, and I think Noah Gatlin at the other tackle, and then probably Dalton Wagner will be a swing guy moving back and forth. So those two guys at the tackle spots. Then you're going to have Ricky Stromberg at one spot, and maybe Luke Jones at the other. Maybe that would be a good guy to have the other. And then I'm spacing Ty Clary at center. The thing, and they need to get Clary bigger. They need to get Stromberg bigger. I mean, a lot of guys need to get bigger on this offensive line. And there may be some other guys that compete. Shane Clennon, who kind of fell off last year. Kirby Adcock. They've got to get the snaps back quicker. That was a huge problem, I thought, for a team that wants to get the ball out quickly, and you've got these snaps kind of lobbing back, and I just never understood the strategy with the snaps. Just get it back there quicker. Clary would be a lot better center, I think, if he'd get the ball back quicker, and probably draw the ire of Razorback fans a little less. Aaron Anderson says, I know they were talking about the 5-star O-line recruiting. Well, we just talked about that. I'd take a 1-2 punch of Franks and Jefferson over anyone other combo in our quarterback room. Bryles will coach these guys up, says Dollar DP. Grant Toynton says, who do you think we will get as a recruited tight end? I think Alan Horace is a good candidate there. I think that you start talking about exploring the grad transfer market this offseason also. Maybe a late JUCO if there's something like that out there. But you need to get 2 tight ends in this class. So Alan Horace seems like the most likely candidate. Maybe they can swing Brandon Frazier a little bit, but it certainly feels like the tide is turning to Auburn on Frazier. But if they could get those 2 guys in, that would be great. But they're low. I mean, they got, Blake Kern and Hudson Henry at tight end. That's low numbers there. For a position group that has been really, I mean, they've had a ton of tight ends over the last 8 years. They've always had a ton of tight ends, and now they suddenly don't. Joe Coe says, won't matter how good a quarterback is if we can't protect him. It's a great point. I always point to this thing with, the Ohio State quarterback, Justin Fields. When they're breaking down his passing, and they're like, he goes to his first progression, second, his third, his fourth, and fifth. Look at the maturity he shows in the pocket, and he's just, he's got all day to throw. I mean, he's just kind of just standing there looking around, got all day long. Anybody's going to look good like that. Hey, Trey, what's a realistic win total for Pittman next year? I kind of said 5 would be a ceiling maybe. I don't know what the bottom is. I don't think the bottom is 2. I mean, we can talk about, this roster and stuff, and I've said before, they have an excuse to have been a bad team last year, but a disaster? No. The talent on the roster doesn't represent a 2-win team. Coaching played a huge factor in that, or lack thereof. This team never got behind Chad Morris, never felt a connection with him. I think what you saw a lot of him with the way he talked to the media, just bouncing around every question, which was very frustrating. I mean, he certainly didn't earn any friends in the media. But I kind of get the impression that a lot of the players felt like that was the conversation too. Just bouncing around everything, and a lot of time for no good reason. It's one of the things I like about Eric Musselman, and it's not just me. I want Razorback fans to have a story. I want them to get to know the coach and the players and feel a sense of connection versus just coach speak and BS, line after line. And I don't think that Morris ever understood that he's who he's talking to. Again, you're not talking to me. You're talking to whoever's on the other end of this camera, whoever's reading the article. That's who you're talking to. When you get Danny or Pete on a walk and talk, says Steve Henderson, we could talk about that. Robert James Hurst says, walk and talk is my favorite thing because I feel like you're getting raw, immediate reaction for you. That's what I really want to bring. What I want to bring with the walk and talks is, a really great backdrop, and that doesn't always happen, but usually I want to get a really great scenery backdrop type of thing and just a raw, very soon after the game, after I've kind of collected my thoughts, raw, unscripted discussion, just kind of getting things off my chest, what I think about stuff. That's what the walk and talk's supposed to be. And I think that adds a little bit to it, like first couple of, when you're walking around with a selfie stick in front of your face and you're not paying attention, a couple of times I get turned around on which level I'm supposed to be on, coming out of Razorback Stadium, or, the other day a car was just like coming at the crosswalk, super hot, almost hit me. I mean, stuff like that. I mean, I think it adds to it, just kind of the realism of it. Because I really want it to be like me and you are leaving the stadium, walking back to the car, just kind of talking about the game. I guess, but I do all the talking. That's kind of what I want that interaction to be with the walk and talk. Brandon Hawley says, will Jalen Williams be our inside force next season? Will Coach Musk ever 10 guys in a – I think you left off the word there, Brandon, but I'm thinking you mean like will he ever play 10 guys or more in a season? I mean, it seems to be like 9 is the recipe. Unless, like, again, Virginia, they only played 7 really last year, all of last season, but they play a much slower style. But, I mean, I think if you can get up to playing like 9 guys, but that's not what he did at Nevada necessarily. Just need to get better players and bigger players, bigger and better players. You got to have some more presence down low. Terry Roy says, this staff won't overlook talent like the last one did. KJ will start, says Terry. Jason Sheridan says, no, don't stop walking talks. All right, I think it's about time to move into Keith Grayson. See what Keith's got to say. And I think it's been a little bit since we've had Keith on.
What's up, man?
Hey, Keith. Tell us everything you know about Razorback Athletics.
Well, it's been a depressing story, but I feel like we're on the come up a little bit.
On the come up and everything?
Overall. Well, I mean,
in basketball?
Yeah, I think so. You think what do you think? I don't know this like historically what gets to the tournament in the SEC, but you think like 9-9 is kind of the goal?
In the conference, I think they probably need to have a winning record. I mean, I think you can definitely play yourself out of getting to the tournament, but I don't know. I think a winning record should do it. A winning record probably gets you to 21 wins in the SEC total overall, and then you head into the SEC tournament. I think that would make you feel safe about your spot, but they've hit a little bit of a hiccup here. It's a tough stretch, and they just lost 2 games in a row. Isaiah Joe's not playing very well. Mason isn't playing that well either. I mean, a lot of stuff is missing kind of in the middle of games with both those guys. Even with Joe in the Kentucky game, he scored 13 points, but he hit 2 early threes, and then there's just this huge gap, where he's playing a lot of minutes and not scoring at all, and hit some points there at the end. Jimmy Witt didn't have a great game in that last one either, obviously putting a big guy on it. But, the Kentucky game. But the last game, Jimmy Witt played pretty well. But you got to have more than that. I mean, you just don't – I think if you don't have Joe going, you don't have Mason Jones going, what do you really have? I mean, every once in a while, Adrio will, do some good stuff for you. Adrio. I keep saying Adrio just because that's my Danny West Amish thing. Then I kind of got stuck on it, but it's Adrio. I know it's Adrio. But but like what's your offense coming from if Joe and Jones aren't going? The occasional point from Adrio, Jalen Harris knocking down the occasional 3, maybe. It's just you just don't have a lot going. So.
They still scored 70 last night, which I mean, I guess that's a decent showing on the road.
It's tough to win on the road. It's tough.
Watching that first half, I didn't think they were going to get to 70 by any stretch. But do you think our fans will still be on the must bus if they miss the tournament? Because I don't think before the season started, nobody thought this was a tournament team.
Right. There's no question, Keith, that fans are overall behind Musselman. And I don't think it's a situation where like he's being outcoached and stuff. I don't think that's the issue here. The issue is just a dramatic lack of size, and then when you don't shoot well, and you don't force a lot of turnovers. I mean, the turnover battle was only 7-9 last game, and Arkansas leads the SEC in that margin. So it was only, +2 for Arkansas. That's not good enough.
I just don't want to set everybody up for disappointment later on if they miss, because you got to be able to see the forest of the trees on this one, because obviously we have one of the best coaches in the country in Musselman. If he can start, the Jackson kid, was it Jackson Robinson?
You talking about
what's that kid's name?
Jackson Robinson, Texas A&M
out of Oklahoma. Yeah, he just came out of nowhere and
Yeah.
We got Reggie Perry on that one probably. So, man, that came out of left field. But everybody's got he's going to get the players. He's going to get – he hasn't even had – I had a buddy texting me that lives in Atlanta. He's kind of removed it. He's not on any of the boards or anything, but he's just like, griping about the game kind of last night. I'm like, you do realize, like, that we don't have – this is just a microcosm of what this thing's going to look like. This is just getting started.
The Jackson Robinson thing, Keith, felt a little bit like Lakia Henry going to Ole Miss, the linebacker, who was like coming up here looking for apartments the weekend before he committed, like paid his own way, left Texas, drove to Arkansas, paid his own way after had already taken a visit and was looking for apartments, and then commits to Ole Miss on signing day, or flips to Ole Miss, I guess. I don't know if he ever committed to Arkansas or not, but everything was like, this guy's coming. So kind of felt that way with Jackson Robinson.
Well,
they got some help coming in.
Fortunately for us, fortunately for the basketball team, shooting guards and combo guards aren't in dire need like they are with linebackers in football.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different because they're kind of a dime a dozen.
Yeah. Well, you've got 4 top 100 players coming in next year who are all committed to Arkansas. Moses Moody, 6'5", add some size, out at the guard spot. Jalen Williams is going to be a nice addition at 6'9", 230, number 7. So Moses Moody, number 45 overall player in the country. Jalen Williams is the number 70 overall player. And then KK Robinson, point guard, 6', 175, number 74 overall player in the country. That'll be neat. I mean, you lose Jimmy Witt this year. Jimmy Witt's been about as pleasant a surprise as anybody. Because I remember when he left Arkansas, I was just thinking, guy can't shoot. All right, they can go get another one. But Jimmy Witt's been a nice addition. He's kind of a quirky player with, kind of weird shooting mechanics from free throw and, with his mid-range jumper and the fact that he has a mid-range jumper and really not much else other than a layup or a dunk. He's kind of been a quirky player. But they got to replace him next year. And then, of course, you got Devontae Davis, who also can play point guard for you, 6'4", 175, another 4-star, number 100 overall player in the country. So, and then in addition to getting Connor Vanover, you're going to add some height next year. So it should be a much better show.
The thing is, this happens every time somebody starts talking about next year. Nobody mentions Note. That kid can score. That's the replacement right there for that little mid-range jumper and stuff. And so, I think he can dial it up for 3 too. He's a scorer, so he's the one that's going to get slept on. Where everybody's going to be like, where did this dude come from?
Yeah, and then moving way forward, 2021, you've got Duncan Powell committed already, who is also a 4-star prospect in the class of 2021. 6'8", 200-pounder, power forward. So size is on the way. It's going to take some time.
I know we got basketball in the brain bar. Are you okay, man? I heard you got fired from your radio show.
Yeah. No.
What happened? How do you get fired from 103.7? Because that's like impossible. You sucker punch an old lady or something?
Right.
On video?
So now you have me getting fired, now punching someone, an old lady. That's what people are going to think. No,
that's what I heard on Twitter.
No, it was my idea. We so for those who don't know, Pete Roulier is going to take over my spot on the Hog Hustle, who's been with us at HawgSports.com. You can read all this stuff at HawgSports.com. But he's going to be taking my spot on the Hog Hustle, which is the show we do on 103.7 The Buzz every Tuesday, unless there's a basketball game or something interrupting it. I just, I got to the point, Keith, where my plate is just kind of spilling over. We do a couple of these, and we started doing the Hog Hustle before I knew that 24/7 wanted us to start doing our own podcast on the 24/7 network, and with this Facebook Live show, we try to do 2 a week on this. Plus, I do Drive Time Sports on 103.7, 5 o'clock every weekday, and the site is just more than doubled in size, which it's a lot more responsibility, as the publisher. So, site's growing.
Say, from my feedback from the message board and everything, it was kind of, when you guys first took it over, there wasn't a whole lot of traffic from the. You guys were putting out the content, but the message boards are driven by users,
right? And
so now, I'm on other boards, and it has surpassed the amount of activity. Now it's like almost double what you see on other message boards, and so I definitely think that I enjoy being on there more because I definitely voiced my opinion of it in the beginning. I'm not shy about it. So it doesn't suck anymore. It also
doubles the amount of, users with questions, like DMs and stuff, or customer service kind of questions and stuff like that I deal with. So everything's just kind of uptick, which we're grateful for. I mean, bring them on. But I'll say another big addition was just the message board overall, the upgrade. I mean, that was something that we waited a good year for, and was really, when we moved from Rivals to 24/7, that was really the main thing that I heard from people. Most people were just like, hey, we love what you guys do. We want to follow you here. The message board, though. But, I mean, it's been completely overhauled. I don't think there's a better message board for any type of subject across the world than what we have right now. The dark mode feature is great. Today, by the way, Keith, I don't know if you know, but we added, we're still adding stuff, but we added follow user today. So you can, get notified whenever your favorite posters make a post and stuff. So that's been a big addition that we've also added. But I think that's big, one big reason a lot of people were just kind of waiting to see, for this message board to get upgraded. And it has been, and it's really gone another level too. Appreciate you saying that. After you accused me of hitting an old lady.
Your eyes just glazed over on this last 5 minutes. I get Trey on the pitch sometime where he just kind of is like, "Oh yeah, thank you for bringing it up," and then he's out the gate.
I don't think it's interesting though. You bring that up. It's amazing to me how many I get complaints from people in the comments sometimes about.
You have to say subscribe to the YouTube channel because people do it. Like it's a necessary evil when you're
there's not a YouTube channel out there where people don't go over the the rigmarole of just saying subscribe to the channel, hit that thumbs up, and you have to do it because when you do ask, people do it, and it also bumps your channel up. But also I don't work for Twitter, and I don't work for Facebook, and I don't work for YouTube. I work for 24/7 HawgSports. That's who I work for. The reason we do this show is to get our message out there. I have people ask me all the time, like, "Hey man, you should start a Patreon up. I'd love to show my support for the show and stuff." And I'm like, just sign up to the site, man. You get the best stuff that we do behind the scenes on the site, and you can support it. You can support the show at the same time. So thanks for allowing me to pitch everything during your segment here, Keith.
Yeah. Also, there's no charge for using some of the topics that I bring up for you using it on other platforms too. Because I've heard some of my thoughts regurgitated by Trey Biddy.
Oh yeah. If you take the best from everybody. If you take it from one person, then it's stealing. But if you take it from a bunch of different people, then that's called research.
I'm a copycatter. I've been installing a defense, and we're going to get together over the weekend. It's going to be some copycat stuff. So that's in football coaching. That's all it is. But I'm excited to get everything going. The basketball season's well underway, and it's going to be over before we know it. And I'm trying to enjoy as much of that as possible. Even in a loss, I was pissed off last night watching the game, but especially, the guy that killed us the most, but for Mississippi State.
Do you hate losing to Mississippi State more than anybody?
Oh no, LSU by far.
You don't feel some level of, like, LSU's got a pretty historic basketball program, a notable basketball program, I should say. And
I just hate their fans.
I mean, they've got some great fans, but I do feel like, in a way, you're right. Like, LSU's bad fan. Everybody's got bad fans, but LSU's bad fans kind of seem to be the worst of the litter. But I just don't. Do you feel? Let me ask you this real quick. Don't you feel? Do you not feel a level of superiority to Mississippi State?
Yeah, in every form and fashion. Yeah.
So does it not sting a little bit more when you lose to them?
Especially
because I don't know if you could say you feel a level of superiority necessarily to LSU, and if you do, it's not anything significant.
In basketball,
yeah, but they, they're still got a notable program there. I mean, it's not, but yeah, you would like to think that you, as Arkansas, you're superior to everybody except for Kentucky when it comes to basketball tradition and your ceiling. That hasn't been the case the last quarter century, but I got a feeling that it's coming back, man. I think the fans can feel it. So enjoy it while you got it at Mississippi State.
we gotta get this football thing rolling, and then we're gonna be in high cotton again. And that's the thing that I definitely, with kind of to transition a little bit with the Felipe Franks talk and some fans kind of bagging on him or whatever. What we really need to do, the way that I look at things, anybody who wants to come to this program right now, we need to wrap them up and hug them a little bit because nobody, who the hell wants to go play for a team that finished 2-10? Who wants to coach there? Everybody is needs to be put like we need to appreciate the people that want to be at Arkansas a little more, especially like
Yeah.
a quarterback that's got 1 year to do it. And I think KJ's going to push for time. We're not saying that he's going to ride the bench the whole time. Like he could beat him out for all I know.
Yeah. So like if you're an average to slightly above average player and you've proven that in the SEC, then come on down. That's what I say. At this point, it's just about improving the roster. Come on down.
Yeah, it's just about competition within your own team, and there's going to be with the veer and shoot that Briles runs and that type of offense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the quarterbacks. I know he's kind of coming back and saying the quarterback's not going to run, and they're not going to like push him to run as much in the SEC. But if KJ's in there in a package, and there will be a package for him, and more of a role than there was last year, then watch out. I mean, he can run the ball, so
you can have a lot of success with a really dangerous running quarterback, and I mean a guy that's got jets. Like Auburn's offense has never operated better, aside from when Cam Newton, which is just a rare talent. It's rare to find somebody who can throw that way and run that way, obviously. But Nick Marshall, that's the next best Auburn has been under while Malzahn has been either offensive coordinator or head coach there, and that guy could barely throw, but still threw for 2,500 yards just because he was so dangerous. I mean, they basically ran just a few plays with that guy, and it worked because everybody's scared to death of his legs. You can win that way. But I'll say this with Briles' offense, they've got to get the offensive line shored up, because that's what we ran into at Florida State with him. That offensive line on Pro Football Focus was the second worst offensive line performance in the entire country, and that's why he had great successes at Baylor, at Houston, at FAU, but at FSU they just couldn't get it done. And it comes down to, obviously you got to have a good quarterback, but it doesn't matter how good your quarterback is unless he can really, really run if your offensive line isn't very good.
You got Noah Gatlin coming back. You're gonna put
that's a
Luke
big
Jones
addition.
Center.
And Luke Jones is a big addition. He's a possibility at center. I'm not closing the door on Ty Clary. We kind of did the same thing last year. If he can get his snaps together, man, that would make a huge difference. But
it's kind of an important piece of being a center.
Who do you think?
Guard.
Who do you think is the other? Yeah, that's possible. Who do you think is the other offensive lineman? So we were going over it, and it's Myron Cunningham obviously needs to continue to add some weight. So he's a guy. Noah Gatlin, and then probably Dalton Wagner as the swing guy behind them, and Luke Jones has a good chance to emerge as a starter. Ricky Stromberg obviously needs to continue to add weight, but he's got a chance. So who's the other guy? Is it Luke Jones or is it Ty Clary?
Well, Luke Jones is going to come in and I think Luke Jones is going to be your starting center next year, and then Clary's going to have to move over to one of the guard spots.
You think Clary will start then?
I don't know.
At one of the guard spots?
Stromberg is too – well, of course, this all is saying we're not going to get a 5-star freshman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, of course, that guy's not coming in.
Yeah.
I'm trying to wish it to
I've told everybody just treat it like a surprise. Don't get your hopes up on Broderick Jones.
Oh, I'm fully sold on it.
I'm buying him.
Pissed off it doesn't happen. But I think that I think you got 7 or 8 guys that it's not. I don't think it's going to be as bad as people thought in the past.
Mm-hmm.
The past 2 years has looked or hell beyond that. Just look at wherever he's gone. Pittman always has the lowest amount of sacks in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the lowest sacks given up in the country. I think the offense is going to help, which is funny. I know they're running a veer and shoot, but if you probably asked Briles what it's going to look like personnel wise, he's going to say it's a 2-back run oriented.
Don't say that.
That's it, right?
Well, we're going to be one of the most explosive offenses in the entire country. These are Chad Morris quotes for people who don't know. Yeah. 2-back run-oriented shot, play-action offense. Is that what he said?
It's going to look like it should have, except this time it's not going to have a guy that was 2 years removed from being a graduate assistant as the offensive coordinator, and you got somebody that knows what the hell they're doing there.
Just from getting to know Craddock, I really liked him. I could see myself being friends with Craddock, but I do feel like he was probably a job away at least, of honing his skills as a coordinator before.
You don't think he was ready to go up against Kevin Steele and Nick Saban on a week-to-week basis?
No, don't think that was in the I don't want to bag on him too much because I like Joe personally, but I don't think that he was ready for the job, and I think that was probably true. Keith, let me tell you this real quick. So I'm 42 years old, and in my entire 17 years of covering Arkansas football, there have been like 2 assistant coaches that were younger than me, okay, until Chad Morris's staff. And I think it paid a lot of dividends in recruiting because those guys are high energy, they're looking to prove themselves. There's a lot of benefits to that, but I do think you missed on some stuff, especially with the offensive coordinator, offensive line, that kind of stuff in terms of experience. But Dustin Fry's, not just younger than me, but Dustin Fry is a decade younger. Stepp is a decade younger. Of course, Stepp, proven himself dramatically on the recruiting grounds. Craddock's, a decade younger than me. It was a young staff. Mark Smith's decade younger than me. That's a lot of young coaches, and you gotta have a mix. I agree with having a mix. And Arkansas, they have a mix. Like a guy like Sam Carter, for example, they have a mix of older coaches and younger coaches. But they had some like guys, more on the end of their career, and then some really young guys. That was kind of the mix. And then Barry Lunny, who's in the middle.
I'm not trying to bag on Craddock too hard, but it's who puts him in that position to begin with.
Yeah.
You're not setting the guy up for success at all.
No.
So it was just mind blowing the whole time. And you're gonna do it like with the way that Pittman's done it. You don't have a staff on one side of the ball that's all just barely above the drinking age. You mix it in. You got like 2 guys.
Yeah.
So on each side of the ball, so the whole thing doesn't just implode on itself.
Right, and you got Sam.
Turn around, and you're like, what can we do against this defense? And they're like, I've never seen it before. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So.
Yeah, and you got like Sam Carter, being under Barry Odom's wing. He was with him at Missouri and coaching in the secondary with him. So they'll kind of be in the same room together. You've got some things like that, but I do think that things that are important. Obviously, you want big name offensive coordinator, big name defensive coordinator, and you want big name offensive line, big name defensive line. Those are the critical areas, in my opinion, that you got to start with. And Arkansas addressed that. They got a guy that's been at Florida, a guy that's been at Missouri, that's well regarded, that Pittman really loves, and Brad Davis, and then Derek LeBlanc. Literally, the conversation was like, "What do you want to go?" They were sitting down with Barry Odom. You want to go over that? You want to go after the Kentucky guy? Let's go after the Kentucky guy. That's how basically the conversation started with going after Derek LeBlanc, who's been, from Louisiana, been at LSU on the strength staff, been at North Texas, Southern Miss, Kentucky, and has done a really good job at Kentucky. So, well, Pete, we've gone. This might be our longest show ever that we've done. We don't want to give people. We got to leave people wanting more. So it's about time to wrap it up.
I'm sitting outside of an eviction, so I got to go kick down some doors. So.
Okay, go kick down some doors.
My death is not by airplane now; it's by pitbull. So I'm definitely doing something. So
okay, all right,
dude.
Later. Appreciate you, Keith.
Later.
All right, that's Keith Grayson. Keith, for those who don't know, Keith has been a long-time subscriber on HawgSports.com, become a friend of mine over the years, and pretty funny guy. Adds a unique fan perspective. Also, the former president and founder of the Arizona Razorback Club, the disgraced former president and founder. He was removed from that position officially, which is crazy. And there's a good story. We might have Keith on again to talk about it sometime. I think we've done it before. But anyway, I'm going to wrap up the show. And again, the Hog Hustle is on Tuesdays. You can catch that on 103.7 The Buzz up in Northwest Arkansas also. I can't remember the channels exactly, but it's in Northwest Arkansas on Tuesday nights. Sometimes it's at 7, sometimes it's at 8. Just depends on basketball and some other things. But Pete Roulier is joining that show and taking my spot. So Pete's ready to do that. He was on Sports Talk with Bo for a number of years as an intern. Has been with us the past year and is ready to take on something like that. So I think he'll do a great job, continue that show on. But I just had too much on my plate to continue that. I'm like scrambling, trying to find stuff. My to-do list keeps growing, and I'm spending an hour and a half doing another show. So it was time to move on. Show's still going to be good though. Danny West, RJ Hawk, and Pete Roulier. So I want to remind everybody, plenty of ways to watch and listen. Facebook Live. Throw us a thumbs up now and hit the follow button if you haven't done so already. YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the notifications bell so you're notified anytime we upload a new video, and like this video if you haven't done so. Apple Podcasts, throw us a 5-star review if you like the content, and throw us a review and a rating if you like the content. Say something nice about it. And available anywhere you can get. What's that? That's an old alarm for a Christmas party. Interesting. So, anyway, I want to thank everybody for joining me. Thank Danny West, who had to jump out early because of Ebony Jackson's commitment to Arkansas, the running back, who is the 18th commitment in the class. But appreciate him joining us. Appreciate your questions. Appreciate Keith Grayson. And we'll be back with you guys. We might do a walk and talk after the TCU game. We'll see. We'll see how things go. So be possibly looking forward to that. And then we'll be on again with you guys next week. All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining me. This has been Trey Biddy with HawgSports.com, and we'll catch you next time.